Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're pulling back the curtain on something that affects, well, almost everyone, yet it's so often completely misunderstood. We're looking at the invisible architecture of marriage. From the outside looking in, marriage looks wonderfully simple, doesn't it? Just two people, one commitment, one shared future. But on the inside, it's actually much more like a bridge over a river. Now, that bridge only works if both sides are built to carry real weight. If one side is just, say, decorative, and the other is solid steel, the whole structure is going to feel incredibly unstable. And marriage is exactly like that. It's not just about feeling ready or relying on this sort of romantic optimism. It's a complex system of mutual responsibility, and it literally has to be structurally sound enough to hold a real life together. Okay, let's dive into this. What makes marriage fundamentally different from most other relationships is that it demands long-term coordination under pressure. Look, love and attraction absolutely matter, no doubt about it, but they don't automatically answer the hard questions for you. And that brings us to a really crucial contrast: hope versus clarity. The illusion of hope says, hey, we'll figure it out as we go. But clarity is much more grounded. Clarity says we know what we're entering, we know what it's going to demand, and we know exactly where the friction is going to come from. Because here's the thing, unclear assumptions, not a lack of love, are what usually create the deepest, most painful problems down the road. We really need to shift from just hoping things work out to having true structural clarity. So let's see how this actually builds. Section 1. The architecture of commitment, building the hidden foundation. Commitment isn't just one single thing. It's kind of like building a house with hidden load-bearing walls. The paint might look absolutely beautiful, and that's the romance part, but what actually keeps the house up is the frame, the foundation, and those structural supports. Now, one of those massive load-bearing walls is what we call shared direction. A couple can feel deeply, intensely connected, but still be heading toward completely different futures. This involves everything from how decisions get made to managing family boundaries. It's the difference between, say, agreeing on a budget but secretly wanting to blow your savings on a sports car while your partner is expecting a down payment on a house. Without this shared direction, love becomes like two people rowing a boat with totally different destinations in mind. They might both be rowing incredibly hard, but they're just creating friction instead of actual progress. Good feelings just don't create alignment. Alignment has to be intentionally built. So the crucial takeaway here is that alignment requires honesty, and honesty absolutely requires our next concept, emotional safety. I actually love to frame emotional safety as the invisible electrical wiring of the relationship building. You don't see it most of the time, but if it's faulty, the whole thing becomes dangerous. Now, emotional safety doesn't mean you never fight, not at all. It means conflict can happen without humiliation, without punishment, or the fear of just being totally dismissed. In a marriage, emotional safety is the only thing that allows truth to travel. Without it, people start hiding their concerns, and that creates a really dangerous false sense of harmony. And when truth can't travel, assumptions take over. Assumptions are expensive. Man, that quote really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Every single marriage has roles: practical ones, emotional ones, cultural ones. The question isn't whether they exist, it's whether they're clear. When practical duties or emotional roles go unspoken, couples become like two incredibly talented musicians trying to play a duet without a shared sheet of music. They might both be great individually, but they are absolutely not making one coherent song. Now, when we lay out all these hidden pieces side by side, a true pattern underneath commitment is exposed. Notice how each core piece connects to a very practical reality. Take shared direction. That means wanting a compatible future, which matters because it prevents that constant pulling apart. Emotional safety means being able to tell the truth, making the real problems visible. And trust? Well, trust grows through repeated consistency over time, not just fleeting intensity. And that's what makes the partnership actually feel secure. Honestly, if you ever want to evaluate the strength of a relationship, this is your blueprint right here. Love is the light in the room, but this architecture is what keeps the room standing. Which brings us right to the stress test. Section 2, character revealed under pressure, when the weight is applied. Many qualities look fantastic when life is easy, but marriage brings ordinary, relentless pressures into very close range. We're talking fatigue, financial strain, unmet expectations. The real test is what happens when things become incredibly inconvenient. And character? Character is like the green in wood. Think about it. On the surface of a beautifully polished table, everything looks perfectly smooth. But the second heavy weight is placed on it, it's the internal grain structure that determines whether that wood bends, cracks, or holds strong. Marriage isn't about what someone says they value when they're totally relaxed on vacation. It's about what they repeatedly do when their comfort is disturbed. Under that kind of pressure, couples often fall into a major trap. confusing agreeing with aligning. A lot of marriages are actually damaged not by the loud, explosive arguments, but by the quiet, simmering resentment born from non-alignment. Saying something like, "Fine, paint the kitchen neon green if you want," or "I'm exhausted, so I'll just stop arguing." Look, that is agreement, sure, but it is not alignment, and it breeds serious resentment over time. True alignment is when both people can genuinely say, "Hey, even if we don't prefer the exact same thing, we understand why this choice makes sense for us as a team." It's a profound difference, and grasping it can literally save years of confusion. Moving right along to Section 3, the true weight of decisions, the control panel of life. A marriage decision is rarely just a single clean choice. It's more like a control panel where pulling one lever, say how you handle money or deal with family boundaries or make career choices, inevitably shifts the entire system. Every practical decision is actually asking a hidden question. And the ultimate hidden question underneath all of them is this: who are we when our interests do not perfectly align? Every decision is evidence. If you can handle the small decisions well together, it strongly suggests you're going to be able to handle the big ones. When couples struggle, they almost always think they're just fighting over the specific topic at hand. But in reality, there are three layers operating all at once. First, you have the issue itself: the money, the travel, the in-laws. Second is the deep meaning of the issue. Is this actually about respect? Is it about safety, freedom? And third is the relationship pattern. In these moments, who is speaking? Who is yielding? Who is escalating? The real task in marriage isn't to somehow win the decision. It's to understand what the decision is actually doing inside the relationship. So, how do you know if you're actually making decisions well? A good marriage decision doesn't always feel thrilling or exciting. Often it's a very sober, grounded process, but it leaves some unmistakable signs behind. You'll feel less confusion, you'll have stronger trust, clearer roles, and really importantly, a sense that both people were real, not just performative. Deciding well is exactly how a couple stays connected while reality just keeps shifting around them. Which brings us to our final section, from readiness to responsibility, the ultimate shift. We've looked at the hidden architecture, the stress tests, and the control panel of decisions. What this explainer is ultimately designed to do is shift your mindset and give you a really incredible gift: discernment. Now, discernment isn't suspicion, and it's certainly not cynicism. It's the wholesome, clear-eyed ability to tell the difference between a relationship that simply feels good in the moment and a relationship that actually has the load-bearing walls required to carry a life. You finally stop chasing the surface aesthetics, and you start noticing the vital supports underneath. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. True maturity means you stop just asking, "Are we ready?" or "Do we care about each other?" Instead, you start asking this: are we prepared to carry responsibility together? Once you can ask that question honestly, you're already seeing marriage more clearly than most people ever do when they begin. And that clarity, that isn't the end of the journey. It is the very beginning of making wiser choices. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.